Okay, so before we start building any system, it's crucial to figure out what do we want that system to output. If we aren't clear with the outputs of the system, how are we going to design a system? So that's why we have to be very clear with the change that we're trying to bring into the market. So the question is, what behavior are we trying to get people to change? So for example, for me, the change I wanted, the vision of better that I saw for the marketplace and the change I wanted was I noticed a lot of private practice owners were just hiring marketing firms to do all their marketing. And when they tried to do it for themselves, they were very confused or they didn't like the results, etc. So the behavior I wanted them to do instead was to educate themselves on marketing and to have control of their own marketing. So that was an example of my change. For you, the change could be people aren't proactive with their health and they only come for emergencies. Now I want them coming more regularly to the dentist and being more proactive and accepting more treatments that are proactive. It could be I want people to choose my practice instead of other people's practices. What behavior are we trying to get people to change? So there's going to be 4 layers of considerations that I want you to be doing before we pick a change. So after this module and the next module, there's going to be an exercise specifically for change where we'll write down exactly what we're trying to create. But for now, just listen to this. And the next module is also going to be important before we write down the change. So first is going to be to consider what are they stopping and what are they starting. So when we want someone to change, right now they're here and they're doing this action, right? But now we want them to do this instead. So whenever we have a change, someone has to stop what they were doing and do our thing instead. It's very easy to say, okay, I'm just going to have people do this and not consider what we're having them stop. If they weren't doing anything to begin with, that is also a form of action. They're choosing not to do anything. And we're having them stop that pattern to break it and to choose our path. So when we're aware of the habits we're breaking, when we're aware of what we're really up against, it becomes much clearer to define what are the obstacles that we need to break down in order to create the change that we're trying to create among people. Next thing is going to be leverage. So it's tempting to think of a very grand, big picture, 10x goal that can be almost impossible to do. And one thing I would challenge that with is, do you have enough leverage to realistically make that a possibility? And yes, it's good to think big, but it's also possible that like we set huge goals that we can never obtain, and it's a form of hiding behind that big of a goal, or just telling people about, wow, this is such a big goal that I want to attain, and they kind of speak well about you, but really nothing much happens. So leverage is all about what can you realistically accomplish? What is within your resources, your assets in order to realistically pull off? And once we do, we can increase that leverage. We can increase the amount of change that we bring into the marketplace as we go. Then it's going to be to lead with the change. So let's say I had a marketing course developed already. Then I might go into the market and say, hey, I want more people to watch marketing videos. Or my change would be basically in order to fulfill the service or product I would already have. So currently we offer traffic building services. So if I said, hey, let's go and give the market traffic building services, then I would have missed this entire concept of, hey, maybe traffic building isn't what people really need, and people actually need better marketing education. So start with the change first. What should people be doing? And then let's look into tweaking your services to fit that need. Not so much leading with your service and getting the change to fit that. So this is going to keep the purity of our change, the purity of our system aligned. And then finally, it's going to be for their benefit. Now, if you decide to create a change that doesn't actually benefit people, what will happen is people will go through that system and you'll just get a ton of pushback at the end of it. Think of Coca-Cola. They do a ton of marketing and they've changed a lot of people's behavior, especially in Mexico, where 70% of the sugary drinks are Coca-Cola. And now in Mexico, they have some of the worst, like heart problems, diabetes, it's through the roof. So what happens when your product or service or when your change doesn't actually help someone, you get a lot of pushback, and it's you have to deal with regulation if you're at that large of a scale, and yeah, it just becomes a nightmare. So make sure these 4 points are aligned, and in the next video, we're going to talk about the ethics of change.